Head-to-heads. It's going to be interesting, Jacob. Southern side, we were talking about it. It's going to be tough to battle out some of the split drops, like we were kind of talking about. You know, the Orchard split. Is it the Camiseti split? The Taste and Nyamzo split? It's kind of like that in between the triangle of the three POIs, which have the medallions on the southern side of the map. So seeing the two teams are contesting each other there, it's going to be quite 50-50, but we'll have to see kind of how it turns out.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how teams really adapt to the changes as well. I know they kind of hinted a little bit on the desk, talking about the Nitro changes, and it's huge. And this is one of the POI that feels it the most. And with Swizzy going down, that's a big opportunity to finish that second elimination. But he's at least going to trade it up, bring it down to a 1v1. Even though he was able to get the elimination, he still goes down and taken out of Brutal Beachhead early.
Swizzy Vanyak out of game number 1 already. What a way to go down. Brutal Beachhead showing how quickly the tables can turn. Also a quick replay here. What happened around Classy Courts.
That was just an easy off-spawn fight from Onye. First shot, got him weak. Second shot, was able to get the down. Teammate cleaned that one up. And that gives them a lot of time to work with. But you got to go ahead and remember, last week when we were watching, majority of the games were won by contested teams this time around. And with the Nitros, the Storm Surge, and a lot of that affecting the game plan, I think it might change up just a little bit this week, especially with some teams already comfortable in the upper bracket, other teams still having to fight for that spot. And that spot means so much because you know as well as I do, once you get the upper bracket, you get those 5 chances, you win a game, you go to the grand finals. It's just a much easier road.
A lot more opportunity, and here it is. The duo now competing on EU. Phantom is left alone, though, as his duo partner has been fully finished. As it looks like now it's turned into a 1 versus 1. Haijo on the opposing end here. Both players cracked now. No shield to work with. Finish is going to come through. As patience is key here. One big shot. It's all Phantom needs to connect, as he should have the loot advantage from that finish. However, Haijo actually gonna be able to max out his shield here. Almost 200 effective HP and shield. As shots do come in from afar. Slight third party, increasing the risk of this fight.
It's a tricky fight too, because both of these guys at one point or another almost out of ammo, but Phantom getting aggressed on by Haijo. He has to be careful. Only 1 shot left. The rest is going to go down the Enforcer. That one's going to be used. Haijo dropped to just 19 HP. A dream that he's trying to keep alive, but Phantom, QNDX, all the way from Middle East. Even though they don't have an FNCS championship together, they do have FNCS titles and experience under their belt, and they're showing off big here early on in game 1.
I'm wondering who's taking shots at them. You can see it was Props. They're actually close by. I was thinking if it's gonna turn into an aggressive third party, but it looks like just pop shots for Cammy and Seti, though. Dropped quite low here. Do have their split contested. It's what we were just talking about while we were dropping in. But so far, it looks like they are gonna make it out of the situation. The issue is, will they be able to get enough loot, enough resources to make something happen here? But be careful, as Akira sneaking on up. They might even get some shots onto them.
Yeah, the team was kind of contesting them, splitting a lot of that loot, making it hard for anybody to really have a good, confident early game. But both Seb and Emil just trying to go in. They have a team that they have weak. They started it off early, and now they're trying to just finish it off before anybody else moves into the fray. But things come crashing down momentarily. That displaces a couple of those players, but that's not going to stop them from moving in. First knock's going to go through. Emil quickly turns around, tries to go back-to-back against Vision, and that's going to be a good opportunity. There's actually various props, excuse me, there, and they're just going on the chase. They know this is now a solo. They don't have to worry about that not just yet, and they're just putting their numbers to use to swarm on him and not really give him a chance at survival.
Nice 2 eliminations picked up by Seb. It's been non-stop aggression here so far. I mean, you can see how many players are choosing to go to the southern map, even if it means they're going to be contested, because it's so powerful in terms of the natural mobility from those nitro rings, the cactuses to heal up that shield you might need. So many environmental factors to your benefit on this side of the map. As now Tidy almost getting cracked there, but he was able to land a shot.
Yeah, Lenz is taking a lot of the pressure now. Shield's getting dropped off. Teammate needs to go there to alleviate some of that. They finally reunite, and the first knock on the Jew is going to be solidified. And now that they have that time, you see them backtracking, slowing things down, trying to heal up. But on the other side, that's Asa trying to finish the early damage and take advantage. He knows he's by himself, so he has to do what he can. But now he gets himself boxed up, almost gets trapped out, but he's quickly moving through a lot of these builds. And now he has to make that conscientious decision to disengage. He's allowed them too much time to heal up, and fighting that would have been night fair for him.
On the run, duo partner down. The chase has started. Will the mind games work? Do they know that Asa has stopped down below here, crouched in the corner? As you can see, they're thinking, where could he have went? I don't know if I like this play. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's not even like a little ridge that he can use, but it looks like it might have just worked.
A little bit of a ridge.
He's got
barely going out. But that heal, if they were just close enough, they would see it. All they have to do is backtrack, but they do have their eyes set forwards, possibly thinking he's hiding in some of those builds, as they're going to go ahead and position themselves here. And now they have to make a decision. You looked at their inventory. They literally have almost nothing. And that's why they're going to use this cactus to try to get their shields up, max it out, and then they're going to try to rotate, grab together whatever loot and scraps that they can find. But this is the story that I've been waiting for almost all day long. Chap and Teeny, the fight for the forecast tower, and they're increasingly more aggressive each week that we do get to watch them play.
Vidal is going to be the one that so far has claimed kind of the mountainside to see if they can get some shots onto Chapantini, but as the zone is already gonna come to a close here, Vidal is gonna be forced out of his position.
Only 15 teams qualified for round 4 in both qualifiers. Shows that in this season, this region, things have been kind of shaken up more and more and more, and that just kind of opens that window of opportunity. You know, you can practice for weeks and weeks and weeks, but if you don't show up on qualifier 1 and then now here on qualifier 2, it only matters so much. As we see in one of those nitro rotates, unfortunately Malibuca gets beamed right before he goes right through it, but that's not too much of a worry because look what they found. A couple more cactuses they can use, the medallion to trade off, getting back up to 200 effective shield and HP is gonna be no worry for them.
Right, they can just trade the medallion back and forth, like you mentioned, to get that shield recuperated without having to use any of the consumables. What's interesting about this side of the map with those nitro rings is, as it's being contested by so many duos and there's so many kind of fights going on, the third parties are even more risky here, as when you see duos kind of taking shots at each other and going in those engagements, you can get to them pretty quickly. So you do have to try and finish them as quickly as possible so you don't get hunted down by these other duos in the area. But as for Nine and Della here, have set up kind of their surge base for the players that are going to be rotating back up north. This should open up quite a few opportunities to get that damage without putting them at too much risk.
I feel like that's the thing this season, especially with the nerf to the nitros, to where if you're down on surge, you can no longer just break into a box, land a couple of shots, and then try to get out. It's kind of back to that old style of Fortnite where these surge bases, being proactive and planning 2, 3, sometimes even 4 steps ahead to figure out where you're not only going to get that loot, but the surge, because it really kind of dictates your game plan, how you get to play. And you're seeing teams wait so far back in the bunkers to try to replenish some of those heals to make staggering themselves, missing out on surge, a worthwhile game plan. But now we're gonna see what happens when 2 teams box up next to each other and have that same exact game plan fighting for the bunker.
Strokey on the aggressor side here. Sky Scroll getting lower and lower, forced to pop a med kit, but now the issue is if they start getting their walls replaced here, they're gonna have to make a peek, gonna have to make something happen, as they can't just let the clock tick. Strokey unable to connect his shots. Lot of materials being used. No hard hits connected yet.
Yeah, but the tables have definitely turned. They need to drop down and get to that bunker. I would say no heals on a fast Roki. Time is definitely ticking. Sky and Scroll, they try to time it perfectly so they get the most use out of their own med kits, but because of what you were saying, they got aggressed onto, almost getting their piece of control. They were forced to cancel them out just a little bit early. Scroll starting to fight, drops down, trying to contest that bunker, doesn't want to let it go for free, but everybody here, how far they are away from the actual zone, puts them on the clock, and it forces teams to disengage everything that they just fight for out of the window, because they now know know they can no longer stay in the zone and contest this because it'll risk everything.
Yeah, good job by, I believe it was Sky who was able to get inside the bunker first. Raban and Pastroki realized, okay, they're already in the bunker. We could fight for it, but zone's too far. We're going to lose too much HP. Not enough heals. It's just not worth it at this point. So we'll see what they end up doing. Once they make it into the zone, will they try and hold them off? Will they just get a zone position? I think they were able to do a bit of damage, at least with the back and forth. So not too bad of a start either way. Podosai Snazy. We've talked about it earlier. They need to get 11th today if they want to qualify to the upper bracket of the semifinals and give them more opportunities to make it to the grand finals. So we'll need to see quite a good performance from this duo today, as Pablo is going to try and stop that.
Hey, the implications of Podosai and Snazy squeaking in with 11th place, though, because not only will they get their upper bracket, they're going to build some confidence. They have a couple weeks break to go ahead and try to figure out their game plan for the semifinals. So this could be a kind of trickle-down effect for Podosai and Snazy, but I might be just a little too ahead of myself. Tony, Pablo, they beam them down, getting them to waste a lot more builds, some of those materials and resources that they've been using, but not too much of a worry. I do believe they might be positioned nearby one of those cactuses, so free heals if they can continue to reach it, replenish it, and probably use it to its full effect.
A lot of duos, actually. You can see the mini-map bottom right. 4 different teams, it seems, now.
Oof, no.
Getting closer and closer as Snazy gets cracked by Akira and Easy. But it looks like it's too risky to get aggressive here. It's more just do the damage. We'll see where zone does pull, how far, or even how close.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, too, because now that they've used the cactus down below, they got covered up by the storm. Now it's not going to get replenished, so they can no longer use it. And that's why you're seeing a couple teams making a far rotation out. If you see in your minimap, those yellow arrows at the bottom left, that's going to be Podosai and Snazy. And they're just kind of getting forced to change directions because all those teams overtook them on that next rotation. That's Riss. We saw him not too long ago by himself, a solo. Good to know that eye drop is now back into the game. And even if the zone is so far, you do have those nitro rings. It is a 1 tick, so they have a lot of time. As long as they can find heals just like this, even bandages will work.
Didn't even see. Riss led all players with 65 eliminations in round 3. We know round 3s are played quite a bit differently than a round 4 format, which is only 50 duos and 100 total players in set lobbies, instead of various set lobbies being played out at the same time. However, you know, it's still a bit of a confidence booster. You talk about that curse, where if you do good in the qualification rounds for these final set lobbies, then you might not do as good in the final rounds, but it's all just a mental game. Tidy now, from quite a good start with 3 eliminations to put into a 1 versus 2 with his teammate on the floor right now. This is not the position you want to be in, Jacob.
Nah, especially since he's missing shields already. Luckily, that one wasn't a monster of a shot. It was almost a bare minimum. Nice backtracking, playing defensive, getting both of them weak, but now he's dropped to just 8 HP, still trying to survive. At least he has Storm Surge going for him. 15 damage, 1,500 damage above the threshold. A chance to drop down, heal up as much as possible. The lens is still going down slowly but surely. And eventually it's going to come down to a 1v1. He's still fighting for every single second here in this game. And I would say, luckily, they are on the edge of zone, so they do have time before zone comes in. But with his teammate going down, he's officially been left by himself with a team on the chase. Whether it's nerfed or not, the Nitro Splash is going to make it easy for them to block off some paths and make him regret that decision before he finally goes down.
You can see as well, when you try and break a structure with Nitro activated, if you're unable to break it, you kind of like bounce back a little bit. So you lose some of that momentum while you're hunting down your players, but it still opens up opportunity if you want to do a wall replace or kind of whatever strategy you might have in mind. It is 90 structure damage now, so it is possible to break through quite a lot of builds, but you got to be quick with it. And for chasing people down, it still works out quite well. Now back over to Mount Olympus. A lot of duos deciding to base up here, reform some of the materials as they wait for next zone to pull.
Yeah, and just going throughout this week, I know they missed last week in that top 50. This week, it's kind of the same Seti and Cammy that we know. You know, they kind of have a slow start to some of these majors, a slow start to a lot of these games. Throughout these first 3 rounds so far, they only have 32 eliminations, so it's back to the basics. Play for placements, know those opportunities will present themselves, but from a team that doesn't get eliminations, that we just saw some of the most eliminations, and Aris now once again left by himself with eye drop going down, and this is a tough spot. There's a few teams all in the mix and a couple more trying to rotate on over, and F9 and Della finally take him out. And as good as Aris has been doing so far in this qualifier, game 1 is not going to be his game.
Yeah, first place in the previous round to make it here today. But when you go down so early game 1 and now you kind of just sit in the lobby and have a good 20-25 minutes to think about what went wrong, you can hope the mental stays strong going into the next match. For Della now trying to fully clean this situation up, as there's still one player on his toes here. You can see in the surrounding area though, they aren't the only ones interested in this fight as shots keep coming through. No big ones being connected here, as they do want to finish this off quickly. 40 white, and now his duo partner Della was able to clean it up. 3 elims on the board, 759 above. Good position to be in.
Yeah, you can kind of see how it all started. His teammates down there in the box. Fanayan, they get a knock on a whole nother team, which is eye drops. And he's hoping at that point. He's praying like, hey, maybe they don't know I'm here as a solo, but they started the fight. They're going to finish the fight. They find every single point there in that altercation and get out before the third parties come in. 357 above as we tune into Queasy and Thomas in a tough spot. Even though there's only one team, CZB and Nathan directly on him, there's other players. You see towards the north, they're moving in that direction. They're trying to third party. And CZB is actually by himself. For Queasy and Thomas, they feel like this should be an easy elimination, a quick cleanup, points and a refresh that they're trying to be after. And it's crucial for them to bide their time because CZB on the other side, 140 below the threshold. Eventually, he's going to have to push right into Queasy and Thomas and try to get that damage.
We missed out on them last week in the qualifiers, but they're back in business now, as we expect from a duo of this caliber to see in these weekly finals. CZB now, as Storm Surge is thinking, goes on the run here. Thomas and Queasy, 350, 337 above the Storm Surge threshold now. So we'll see if they can connect a few more shots, but nothing worth going into zone here and chasing.
Yeah, and just looking at, CZB and Nathan, they've been so good, in these open style rounds. It's when you get to the final lobbies that they kind of find a little bit of trouble. That just comes with a lack of experience. Every single time, every single chance that they get, you see them progressively getting better as Nathan just tries to make a bull rush into the box. Down on Surge, we saw that. We know why they were going to go into that box, but when you leave yourself with no other choice but to do just that, you kind of have to figure out why you put yourself in that position and fix it before the next game.
All about adapting, all about fixing mistakes. If you're adapting to the change in Nitro, adapting to the change in who you're being contested by, or even who's blocking off your rotates, that's what Fortnite competitive is about. But these players are experienced. They know the most effective way to do so. So we switch back over to Teeny and Chap, who are on the hunt. We know how much this duo loves to play aggressively. And it looks like they just might be adding one more elimination to their arsenal. But as Teeny has been cracked and is forced to pop a medkit now in terms of shields, I don't see any in Chap's inventory. Flowberry Fizz for Teeny though, so he can kind of recuperate a bit of that there. However, they're going to need a refresh, not on materials, but almost just for loot here.
Yeah, the inventory looking a little shy right here. Enforcer and the DMR, typically it's only 2 weapons, the rest utility, but they've been just going one fight to the next. And keep in mind, early on in the game, we did see them grab that forecast tower, so take note of their rotations and how quick they're being a lot of teams in the punch because of it. As Fast Stroke and Robomb, we saw them disengage off of the bunker, and rightfully so. Their loot may not be the best loot here in the lobby, but it's good enough to where you don't have to risk it all for a bunker fight deep into zone.
Yeah, you can see the zone has pulled northeast as well. There's a lot of duos already in zone, but for duos like Fastroke and Raban, they've picked up that elimination, and now they've got to kind of strategize their rotate, as there's going to be a lot of duos looking back at them. I'm trying to remember exactly kind of how much natural environmental cover they have on their way. As you can see, there is kind of a lot of eyes that are onto them, as they're going to be the last ones rotating in.
Almost a blessing and a curse. Some of the rotation will be smooth sailing, but as soon as those other teams make it to the zone, that's where it is going to get rough. From one side for the other, Akira and Easy, they take down the gentleman and inch themselves one step closer to being one of the elite teams here in the lobby. You can see what they were fighting for early on in the game, finally rotating away from the bunker. But just like Robon on the other side, along with Fast Strokey, some of this rotation will be smooth. Once they make it to the edge of zone, they're really going to have to figure out where they're actually going to position. Above teams, below some teams. Are they going to go a little bit deeper or just kind of sit on the edge and hope for the best?
Yeah, you can see them rotating in. Akira does have an FNCS Finals appearance, but his duo does not. So if they're able to make it, would be his first FNCS Grand Finals. As now, Flowberry Fizzes are going to be put to good use here, but being 4 below doesn't put too much pressure on your shoulder, hopefully, but it is going to stress you out a little bit. Good news is, a lot of players rotating in late should open up some chances to connect a few shots. Unfortunately, though, a lot of the duos have already based up here.
He's just trying to focus anybody that he can. You see him kind of switching up targets, but he's not really finding those successful opportunities. Still 38 below. Even though it's not much, it's still doing damage all the same. A few ticks already gone. Nate almost out of shields. They're trying to pop the Flowberry Fizz and sneak some shots in, but it's Emil out of nowhere above. They get a good shot, and they continuously fall below. This one is going to be so close to Kata. They got to hope that a couple more players quickly drop off the map so that Storm Surge will deactivate.
Heals being switched up, medkits being popped, 75 below as now the shots connect through. Both players gonna go down. As now a quick refresh for the solo. 3 elims on the board, total of 5. But the rotate has to come through. Full materials, solid loadout, good amount of damage now. As you can see, the players trying to claim good positioning, just like Murstache and Malabuka as he's connecting. Massive shots, but the battle now to claim the elevated location on this west side of the 8th zone is going to play out.
And they're playing their cards almost perfectly. You see, they're not going ultimate low ground just yet. They're going to try to get themselves on the edge, wait for the next zone, and then figure out their rotation from there. You know as well as I do, this season, a little bit more than most, once you're on that ultimate low, down in the mud, it's like quicksand. The longer you're there, the more you'll continue to sink, especially with so many duos all running around. And that's why you're seeing even teams like Reason and Video position themselves above the rest. Even with 5 eliminations, they're still looking for opportunities. You see right out the window, just a little bit of brick, but that little bit of brick could be the difference maker for them.
Teeny secured an elimination. Both players now in the clouds as well. Looks like they're going to try and hold on strong. This position here, good amount of ammunition as well to take shots on these rotating players, and his zone is almost pulled back now. It's going to conserve them quite a few materials on this rotate. I'm curious to see, yeah, even though they have 2 eliminations, I didn't think they were too healthy in terms of damage. 29 above only. But luckily enough, when you're on height, when you have a good amount of ammo, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. You just want to focus on maintaining that position and not letting anybody catch you off guard. For Fadil and Reason, though, they are going to be trying to stay ahead.
Yeah, they waterfall themselves down. They know they're light on materials. Maintaining a high elevated position will get tougher and tougher, especially without the lack of resource to hold on. But top 17 situation, a good amount of points so far, but not even half just yet. So players still need to hold on here in this game to try to scrounge together more and really start off the day hot here in game number 1. Eliminations going haywire, and Reason for Deal, they're just trying to recycle. They're trying to sneak up on a team. They have the game plan in mind. They're just trying to figure out which team and player they're going to execute it on.
Nitro gets popped now. Gonna start their rotate on the edge of zone here as Murstache Malabuka continuing with safety here. No aggressive plays towards height yet, but they have their eyes on it. They're waiting for that right opportunity to strike. You can see multiple layers up top, trying to find the most effective way to chop it down as it comes through. Chap connecting though. Teeny continue to take shots at Murstache and Malabuka. They get chopped again though, as they're forced to walk on ahead. And no full-on aggression yet successfully for the high ground, but Malabuka might be able to make something happen here. But as the shots come through, Chap almost gets knocked down. 30 HP left on the board, no shield. One more shot connected by Merstash, and it looks like Malabuka and Merstash have just retaken high ground.
The typical 10th zone retake on the high ground. Malabuka and Merstash, they were fine hiding on that middle layer. They were the meat in the middle of that sandwich, but enough is enough. They looked above, and it was persistence. Not once, but twice. They chopped down the high ground and eventually taking them down. The 2 eliminations they have were some of the most important eliminations of the game, but here might be 2 more. Stroll goes up. Nice knock on the Merstash. Now Malabuka's by himself and meets the same fate. Sky and Scroll, 11th zone. They overtake high ground, and now they have a chance to win.
It's not done yet. In the blink of an eye, 6 eliminations for Scroll. Sky helping him out with another one for 7. And just like that, they've claimed the clouds. The king of the sky getting dropped down. And Scroll is going to connect in time. It's actually looking like Cammy and Seti now that are the ones wanting to play a bit aggressive up top. But as the zone gets smaller and smaller, so does the risk for that high ground retake, and now the med kits are going to be the play.
Yeah, we got a double stagger. Usually it's a solo trying to save as much of the heals as possible. Now we have Seti and Cammy doing it together. They're trying to not only get the placement points of teams that are dropping by, but a good flank and a good opportunity to get a couple more eliminations. Now's the chance. Seti's making the move. He gets the first drop. Frozzy, he gets separated. He's struggling to get back up the mountain, runs out of builds, and runs into Seti, who takes him down, but it's going to be a trade. Now Cammy's left by himself.
Saren popping a med kit now. Another one in the inventory as well. Can play a decent heal off here. Sky and Scroll continuing with the pressure from above. Cammy left as a solo now in the mix of the aggression here. Gonna go for a right-hand peek. Nice knock. 1 player left now, but he gets taken out from the back. Sky Scroll still up above as Saren has popped both med kits. 50 HP now. And it looks like he's going to have to drop down for the 1v1 or take the 1v2 above.
Hey, I would drop down maybe a couple more elims with Sky and Scroll. They're looking like they've had enough of staying up top. They're ready to drop down, finish this game, and try to gather the 2 eliminations. That's crucial points. Well, there goes 1. We can count it up. Well, there goes 2. We can check that one off the list as Sky and Scroll steal that game away.
They said, we're not letting these solos fight it out. We want those eliminations. They were playing a bit passive there in the last moments, but then in the blink of an eye, they said, you know what are we doing? We want a bit more points. We want a bit more eliminations. Both of us are healthy as they drop down, secure those elims, and take home game number 1.
Yeah, it was in the 10th zone. Malabuka Merstash, they took high ground. I thought it was solidified, but out of nowhere, Sky and Scroll, they were probably watching that all go down. They probably wanted high ground themselves, but when they saw Malabuka Merstash go up, they say, yeah, this is our chance. Send them up. We'll take them down shortly after and steal the game away. Sky and Scroll, you got to give them a huge round of applause for that one. And that, Takata, is how you set the tone on Qualifier 2.
It's a solid way to start for this duo. I mean, Chap and Tini were the initial high ground duo. They held it from first moving zone. Merstash, Malabuka were kind of like, should we take it? They're keeping an eye on it. They eventually played for it, but just like that, Sky Scroll finished it off at the perfect moment and closed out game number 1. We're gonna head to a quick break, but when we're back, we'll be at the desk to break it all down.